Welcome everyone to why you should put crypto into your self-managed super fund. My name's Andrew Squalari, and tonight we're just going to run through just quickly a Q&A of a few people that have done the process or going through the process. I personally have done it quite a number of years ago, and I'm very, very grateful that I had the confidence, knowledge and courage to do what I did. It was way left field for me. I've been involved with cryptocurrency for close to 5 years now, and I have a lot of personal money involved with cryptocurrency, and that was money that I thought was certainly worth putting involved in crypto. And but, you know, when you're talking with superannuation, when you're talking with your future retirement funds, it requires a whole new level of confidence, understanding, and of ultimately belief. So a couple of years ago, I decided to go through and set up a self-managed super fund. I was a government employee for many years amongst being a pretty extreme entrepreneur. But, I rolled my money out of what I believed at the time, a very, very safe environment to store my crypto and store my future retirement money. And I'll go through a little bit about that when we go to the Q&A. But what I'd really love to do is just go through a quick share screen about what I think is important for people to understand a little bit about before we start the presentation properly. Oops, sorry, where are we going? And now, of course, the internet is as slow as you can get. So look, honestly, I believe that everyone should have a percentage of cryptocurrency with their self-managed super fund. If you don't have a self-managed super fund, then there's experts and professionals who are going to join the panel tonight that you can probably talk to later. But I decided to take the leap of faith and set up a self-managed super fund because I had a very big belief in cryptocurrencies. So I, set my own up, and a lot of people around Australia have been advised to set up self-managed super funds in order to minimise their tax. And honestly, I think that's a really good idea. It is a great idea to have a savings plan, to set up a passive income stream for retirement, and we all want to retire. So I think the super system is a really good system. But recently, we're seeing some rule changes possibly, or the management of ways supers are being managed needs to be considered in their future wealth potential. So where we are right now, most people, statistics, who has the most to gain by setting up a self-managed super fund? So at the moment in self-managed super fund, there's 1.1 million people have got their own self-managed super fund. There's nearly 600,000 self-managed super funds. So there's 600,000 super funds, but that gives you an indication that there's more people can be involved with one super fund. And Lewis has talked about this in other webinars before, as has Graham. You can have 4 people collectively join their super funds together, so that minimises your fees, maximises the profit, maximises the rewards by collectively joining 4 people up at a family or like-minded people joining up in one super fund. It minimises the costs of maintaining and operating that super. So there's $764 billion sitting in self-managed super funds. That's a lot of money sitting there. And at the moment, a lot of people are having their self-managed super funds managed on their behalf. Even though they're still self-managed, they've got a financial advisor, and I'll talk to a bit about that later on. But there's in the managed funds, there's $155 billion sitting in cash in self-managed super fund, which is an incredible amount of money that's actually going down in value quite quickly. Interest rates are where they are, inflation's where it is, and what's happening in the currency world of Australia and being a commodities-based country, and that is also being affected. So the average $298,000 sitting in 51% of supers. The average cash is $520,000. So you can see there's a lot of cash sitting in self-managed super funds. Because primarily they were advised to set up a self-managed super fund for the tax advantages, not to use that self-managed super fund for growth. And that's what I really want to talk to you about tonight, is about the growth of super. So, when you can see, the ASX profile of wealth accumulators, people that are between 40 and 65, people who want to grow their wealth, and we've got the wealth preservers, which is 65 and above. They're the people that have the most to gain by setting up a self-managed super fund or using their self-managed super fund, actually purchasing cryptocurrency. So this wealth accumulators, which is my age group, I'm 51. I feel like 35, but I look like 51 or maybe 60 some days. So their goals are for retirement savings, and retirement has got nothing to do with your age. It's got everything to do with how much money you have. Now, if you want to retire early at 55, and then it's a possibility if you have enough wealth to do that. We're talking about super, so super is set up for that 55, 60 and 65-year age groups. We're looking at accumulating wealth, supplementing our income, so actually using your super to grow so that you've got a supplementary income when you retire. And look, most of us who are actively in learning, and that's what we do about tonight. Tonight is a learning program, so you understand more about self-managed super funds, more about cryptocurrency, and how they can mesh together to allow you to have a greater sense of freedom earlier in your life. So I think it's really important. We want to cut down the length of time that we have to work. We want to cut down what we can achieve in our lifetime financially, so we can get to a retirement type income. Now I do a daily Dacxi coffee chat. We have a Dacxi coffee chat document that you can go through as well. But we will talk about classic wealth creation quite a lot in that document. And classic wealth is usually shares, property, and cash. And when we look at superannuation, nearly all super that is invested is all through shares. A lot of shares have a bit of cash if they're managed, not a lot of cash. They're under 10% held in cash, and that's what we're seeing with a lot of supers now. The 2 lots of $10,000 being withdrawn, and people finding alternative areas and controlling their own super. There's been a big cash or liquidity problem with superannuations, and there will be a lot of smaller supers that will suffer from that liquidity problem. They'll be merged into bigger supers over the next 6 months, because people are actively drawing out $10,000 between now and the end of June, and then they're going to draw out the second lot of $10,000. Now, unfortunately, and I had a conversation today about this, what they're doing with that money is speculating. They're throwing it in the wind. They're buying cars. They're buying TVs just because they could access this money. They don't realise that this money is really designed for long-term passive income. It's very hard to help someone today to understand that the $10,000 money that they could access was actually retirement money. No, you shouldn't buy a car with it. I know you need a car, but the money is set up and you can access that money to get through the present problem that you're experiencing. And the car you got is okay, but look, that is really retirement money. So invest it in something, put it somewhere where it's going to grow, and put it back into super later on, if that's what you should be doing. Property in superannuation, usually in property companies and their shares, and of course cash isn't working. So what we're primarily talking about tonight is passive income. Why would you want to have passive income? The reason why we set up passive income is for capital gain, for asset growth, to have what you buy grow in value. That's why we've been buying property and shares for decades, and some shares and property we've actually bought for the dividend or the rent return as well. Depends on what stage you are. If you're an accumulator, you're really looking at capital gain. If you are a wealth preserver, that's someone in retirement, you're looking for dividends and rent. Now we're seeing the dividends and rent in retirement has really changed a lot in the last few weeks when we have this coronavirus management where you can't evict someone who doesn't pay rent. So the people don't have to pay rent if they've been affected negatively by the coronavirus, which of course affects your retirement type income. And of course with the Westpac Bank the other day is dropping their dividend payments for 6 months. That's also affected retirement income. So the rules do change, and the rules of wealth creation have changed as well. And that's why cryptocurrency is here now, because the rules have changed with money, with the GFC. And now we can take maximum advantage of this rule change, get involved with cryptocurrencies and grow our wealth and look for that capital gain. And when we're ready to retire, or even in retirement, we can draw out a little bit of our capital, but still maintain a positive growth of assets using cryptocurrency. And the trend is what we're following, and the trend has been very, very good for a while, which I'll talk about very soon. So classic wealth, of course, is in shares. You can see the volatility. This is back in 2000. If you didn't remember, back in 2000, one Australian dollar bought 50 cents US. So it wasn't very valuable back then. So we had a consolidation period. Of course, we went right up to 2008, where only a couple of years ago, $1 was paying $1.10 US. So we've had a very strong dollar. When the economies are really exploding and really buying washing machines, building houses, buying cars, our commodities-based economy does really well. That's why the Aussie dollar got very powerful for quite a period of time. We're now going into a recession. So of course, when recessions come, we go down here and the Aussie dollar's worth nothing. And the Aussie dollar goes up again. It was worth fairly well until recently last year. And of course, it's crashing and burning again. We're down at 61 cents at the moment. And we have got room to go back down to where we were back in the early 2000s. So that does affect the value of shares and our cash in our bank accounts. So be aware. That's something to consider. Now, property wealth, you can see this graph here shows the average income for property globally. So affordability of property globally is down here. If you're looking at property in Australia, we're way, way up here, and it's even worse now. What that means is the government's actually manipulated the price of property by adding in the first home buyers grant. So the more expensive new homes are for first home buyers, the more expensive the secondary, third and fourth property purchases are. So everything's just bubbled because of a bad policy by government to inflate an industry that shouldn't be allowed to be inflated like it is now. So Australia is the most unaffordable property purchase house, pricing in the world globally. So we are going to have a reset. And, we may go down to these levels. I don't know where we're going to go, but look, we need a reset. Of course, with cash, this is the interest rates, the interest rate returns in a lot of countries. You probably can't see this is Australia, Canada, America. So we're down at the negatives, if not very, very slight positives globally. So we've had some pretty good returns back here. At the moment, 80 banks in Germany are charging you to store your money in their banks. In Germany only, which is the economic centre of Europe. And in Australia, the Reserve Bank only recently today said that they were not going to increase or decrease rates in Australia. So we're still sitting at 0.25%. If you do have cash in your bank, it's not working for you. And look, this is cryptocurrency. This is where we're at. This is the global charts for cryptocurrency from January 2017 right up until now. So if you'd bought cryptocurrency back then, you could expect a return of 1,314%. We are on a very good trend. We had a spike back in January 17, but it was only a quick spike over a few months, and we've leveled out and we're growing consistently, very positively into the future. And that's what we're talking about tonight. So look, I'm happy that I made a decision a few years ago to get involved with cryptocurrency. I'm also happy that you guys are on that journey and wanting to know more about cryptocurrency. And I'm excited to have a few people that are very good friends of mine, people I didn't know before, but I'm very, very grateful that they've become very good friends. And look, I'm happy to share my journey with my super and cryptocurrency, which I'll do right now, but I'd love to ask a few of my mates to share their journey as well. So for those guys I haven't, welcome to the webinar. Thank you very much for joining the webinar. A couple of years ago, I decided to take the plunge and I went with an online company, and it was free to set it up. And honestly, it was the worst decision of my life. It has been nothing but a headache, and because the way they do their fee structure, it's actually pretty cheap to do, but you get a lot of grey hair. So if you're going to set up a self-managed super fund or do something with super, go talk to someone like Lewis or Graham or Edmund, or someone that knows what they're doing about super, and just pay them the $1,000 or whatever they charge to get it set up for you, because it just saves a lot of grey hair, confusion, and it makes it easier. But what I did, I decided to move my crypto, my self-managed super fund money into cryptocurrency because I wanted to protect it. That was the main reason. I wanted to make sure that when I reached my retirement years, that I could understand that the money was still going to be there. And because the rules changed so quickly with supers, and really at the base level where I was at the base level, it changes a lot. For if you're a politician, it doesn't change much. But as a normal citizen in Australia, the rules do change. So I decided to buy some crypto with my super, and over the last 2 years, that's gone up over 1,200%. It's gone 12 times in 2 years. I'm not saying that's going to happen in the next 2 years. I don't know what it's going to do in the next 2 years, but that's my personal story. And where I see my super in the next 10 to 15 years is a continuation of that trend. The trend is going to be pretty positive for the next 10 to 15 years. I'm positive. Otherwise, I'd move it into another asset class, and those asset classes, like I've already talked about, are pretty risky. So for me, it's really important to understand that I own my asset, I control my asset. No one can take those assets from me. If they do change the rules, I have flexibility within that asset class to move them into other locations at will and instantly. I can send every single dollar that I have in cryptocurrency to anywhere I want to send it, and that'll protect it. So no one's going to say, you can't access your super when I deserve it in that 15-year period, 14 years to go for me as in retirement. Now, I chose the Dacxi platform primarily because they do have that A+ security rating. And a lot of exchanges, when I first got involved with crypto, did not have any security rating checking. They had Fs predominantly, which was a bit scary for me because I wanted to make sure that they were secure, because there was a lot of hacking going on and people with bank accounts were getting hacked as well. So, for me, it was all about security, and then it became into more growth. And I'm happy with the growth, and I'm happy with where crypto is going. So for me, I'm happy to talk to people about cryptocurrency and putting their super into cryptocurrency using the Dacxi platform, because for me, it's all about security and growth, and I think that's the best place to go. But what I might do, you've heard enough about me, but what I'd love to do is, Lewis has become a good friend of mine. He's on the Gold Coast. Forgive him for not changing his background to a different colour. But welcome to the webinar, Lewis. I know that you're an industry professional in superannuation, and you've recently become involved with cryptocurrency. So why did you think it was a good idea for you to transfer some of your superannuation cash over to cryptocurrency?
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I suppose for me, it's been a very steep learning curve these past 5 or 6 months now, to learn about cryptocurrency. And to be fair, a lot of the accounting I've done for other SMSF members, I've observed where cryptocurrency has come from in terms of a very dangerous, cowboy kind of world, to then now becoming a bit more of a stable option, especially with options through like Dacxi, like you mentioned, with the security rating. It becomes a more viable opportunity to actually invest your SMSF money into cryptocurrency. I suppose for me personally, with my SMSF, I've been on the sidelines for a long time with my choice of going into cryptocurrency, and I've been in mostly predominantly in shares and cash and unit trusts. So for me, the catalyst for me was having these conversations with yourself, Andrew, and also doing my own sort of research into cryptocurrency and what benefits the Dacxi network offers. And so I became more comfortable, especially with the security rating, to make that choice to use the Dacxi network, transfer some of the cash holding that I had into the Dacxi network. And it's been a positive experience so far. Still a learning experience, which we'll all have whenever we're going into something new. It's been a learning experience, but so far, I actually have enjoyed that opportunity.
That's a great answer. I mean, again, the security for me was paramount. When you're playing with super, it's serious. It's your retirement that we're looking after. So look, it's a really good answer. Thank you very much for that. Craig's a good mate of mine. We've been friends for close to 4, nearly 5 years. A long time now. And only a few months ago, Craig decided to do some stuff with his super. So welcome to the webinar, Craig.
G'day, mate. Yeah, actually, it's awesome knowing you, Andrew, and I've learned so much in those years. And yes, actually, the reason why I put some of my money into superannuation was because of my crypto account, just to see how much it's positively risen. And the fact it's actually on the Dacxi platform, it's such a secure platform. It was a no-brainer to put some of my money into some of my self-managed super fund money into Dacxi, into crypto. So yeah, so it's really about security. Also, I control my assets, which is a very, very important thing to me as well. Actually, I didn't really have a self-managed super fund at the start, so I set one up with Graham, who did an amazing job. Did it really quick, actually. It was only just over a week, I think. And the rollover was quite simple as well. So, so people that actually have already got a self-managed super fund, it's such a simple procedure. All it is just literally setting up a Dacxi self-managed super fund and just rolling, putting some of your money in there. It doesn't take that long at all.
That's great. That's a good answer. I mean, again, the common theme for super is security, isn't it? That sounds good. I've got Steve on the line. Welcome to the webinar, Steve.
I'll still have some other questions.
Wait.
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you, Craig. Welcome to the webinar, Steve. We've known each other for many years, and you've been a participant and a good friend for a long time about a bit about crypto recently. It was a big decision for you to flick over your self-managed super into crypto. Why did you do that?
First, I've got to mention, I've got to upgrade my background. I feel a little bit left out. These stripes don't cut it, I don't think. But I think for me, and in the context of the super, watching the super and just not understanding that I could have control over it, for one, until I took that control and set it up, and super grateful for Graham, because it definitely wasn't my genius zone. And I love how Lewis says it's been a learning curve. I think the whole cryptocurrency journey has been a learning curve, but I think seeing the potential of cryptocurrency, but seeing that trend continue to grow, I love that graph from before. And then when it came to knowing I could control my asset by setting up a self-managed super fund, and because I'm growth focused, I've still got 25 years to go or anything till I will be able to access whatever other laws they bring in. But that period is a long time for growth. And I really, really see the way the financial climate's been changing over a number of years, like massively, and more so now it's really in so many people's face, and being able to make the most of that, have control. And I love how you mentioned too, Andrew, how down the track, I can move that asset. Things move. I have control over that. I'm in charge of that. And it's very empowering to know that on that journey versus what I was taught. Like, your super's managed by a fund, just leave it with your financial advisor. They'll do it for you. That's been a big shift for me over, especially the last 6 or 8 months. And to even watch the asset rise now, and more awareness around the world that's coming onto cryptocurrency now, as everything shifts, that's very, very exciting.
Excellent. That's the common thread is protection and control, isn't it? That's the common thread. Now, hopefully Lani can talk to us. She has got a camera off. I'm not too sure if you can. You talk there, Lani? Welcome to the webinar.
Yep. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Now, you're very new to the world of self-managed super funds, and been hanging around crypto for a little while now. Why did you and Chris decide to put some money into your self-managed super fund and actually buy some crypto with it?
Well, basically, we could see what was happening with our own Dacxi account and the Bitcoin that we'd already bought, how it was going up. So we decided we'd take more than half out of our Sun Super account and put it into the self-managed one. Unfortunately, it's only been in there for 1 day, so it hasn't actually cleared yet. but we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. You've tested, you've been around crypto for pretty close to 12 months now.
Yes.
Yeah, so, you've got a taste for it. And like me, it took me over 2 years to do it because it was a Wild West when I got involved. You've got to get a taste for it. And then once you understand fully, then you step up. And, when you look at the managed super accounts, they're just not paying anywhere near what cryptocurrency is paying as a growth, and also the protection factors as well. So we were going to have one more person speak on the webinar tonight, but he hasn't joined as of yet. So I hope he will soon. I might just go back to Lewis. What are the biggest reasons that Dacxi fits your self-managed super fund? Why did you use Dacxi as the platform to your self-managed super fund through?
I suppose for me, like I mentioned before, it was the security rating. I felt comfortable that there was a good security rating on that one, and it actually opened my eyes to other websites, like my own personal bank account, to see what its security rating was. And it was a bit of an eye-opener. Oh, wow, they're a big institution, their rating isn't that great anyway. So I felt like, well, I'm going to use my SMSF assets into network. I want it to be a secure option. So that was the main reason for my option. Also, that to me, from what I could tell from my own research into Dacxi, it's not an overnight sensation. It seems to have taken its time to be around, to have a stable system, to have a platform that's usable. And so far, from what I've seen, it's very straightforward to do that. Again, for me, it's a very new adventure for me. So I couldn't say that hand on heart, couldn't say I've compared to other platforms yet. But from what I've seen so far with Dacxi, with the ease of which you can make switches from one to another, or even just the option to do a bundle with DAC, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, to diversify even within cryptocurrency, I thought that was actually a very clever tool that Dacxi offers. For me, someone not very well versed in trading in Bitcoin, that was also another reason why I thought Dacxi seemed to be a good platform to use for me, for my SMSF.
Yeah, it makes it an easy transition. That's why I liked it. It's just a very easy transition. We got Craig on here now. It's good. Craig, how did you find that transition from having a managed super that was sort of scattered all over the place to bringing all those funds into one place, then and going on the Dacxi platform?
Yeah, well, look, what I really love about the Dacxi platform is the fact that you get one purchase. I actually just in the Dacxi bundle pack, so one purchase got me 50% of that purchase in Bitcoin, 20% in Ethereum, 10% in Litecoin, and the other 20% in the DAC coin. So straight away, I have a portfolio of 4 assets that I can see clearly what's happening with it, which is really exciting. I jump on my platform and in my wallet and see what's going on. Whereas where it was, you don't really know what's happening with it. So that's probably one of the main things. The other thing is the fact that Dacxi has got an A+ secure rating, so very exciting. 98% of the coins are actually kept offline in a cold wallet, so that's a massive plus there. And the 2% that are actually in the hot wallet is actually backed by cash anyway. So not that anything will happen, but no, it's good to know that just that 2% is actually owned, can be, is covered by cash. Yeah, really, that's pretty much the reason why I put into, and also Dacxi's got amazing customer service, really customer service. You send them an email and you get a reply. Yeah, very impressed.
Excellent, that's very good. I'll go back over to you, Steve. Now, you did something a little bit different. Now, apart from me telling you that Dacxi was a great idea, why did you use the Dacxi platform?
Well, I have had experience on other platforms, and I've been in the cryptocurrency space for a few years now. Like I say, learning many lessons on the journey, and I won't name any other platforms or anything like that, but simplicity was one. And the other thing I think with Dacxi platform, you've mentioned the security and everything like that, but I think they've hit their targets. They've delivered on their promise. Their community is amazing. The support has been exceptional. And I've had to utilize the support a lot over time, like I say, as I get educated on there. But I think, like I say, for me, it was there's a number of things with their vision and hitting them goals and their marks along the way, but the vision going into what they're bringing out that's very, very unique and different. Like, not only for the investment side of it, when I'm focused on growth, I really think about the crowdfunding side of Dacxi. Like, it has got such untapped potential in such a growing and evolving space. And like I say, with all them things backing it up, everything I see from them just has my belief and trust in it just like grow all the time. It really does.
Perfect. That's a really good answer. Now we've got Lani. Now, only because you're a day into having self-managed super fund cryptocurrency, were you happy with the process with Dacxi and how how all that went for you?
Yeah, luckily we were introduced to Graham Donnelly and everything was done through him. Otherwise, it would have been a complete nightmare for me to try to go through it. But yeah, luckily we had him there guiding us through. So yeah, we're happy with it so far.
Very good. Yeah, no, look, it's really good to have the four hosts, people giving their views. But what excites me the most about the three of the guys on here, and of course Lani and Chris, but the three guys have got young families. You know, I've got a young family too, and I know what I've done with my super in the last couple of years. That the inheritance factor or the legacy that I've created with my super for my children is hugely important. It's very, very important that I leave a legacy. And today I put through a funding for a guy. It was funded $6,000 in Daccoin. And that gave him 250,000 Daccoins as his balance at the moment. And he'll get another 50% on top of that. So he's probably going to end up with just over $300,000, 300,000 Daccoins. Now, all of you know that my goal is $1 Dacxi, and I'm really pushing hard to get a $1. So when I see a coin, I see a dollar. That's my focus. That's what that's why I do what I do. I see a dollar. So I know that after 45 years of working as a tradie, my promise was $275,000 in my super. So that's thinking I was going to work as a tradesman and have a walkaway retirement income of $275,000. I'd stayed in my job for 40 years, and I knew people that I worked with back then as a tradie that had been in the same seat, in the same office, in the same job their entire life, and actually were past retirement and were still sitting in the seat. So my promise of retirement was 275 grand for working 40 years as a tradesman. This guy today, he put $6,000 into a DAC pack, and he's going to pick up over 300,000 coins. And in my view, and my focus and the whole company's focus is making Dacxi hit $1 plus more. And for 6K, he's done that. I'm saying that the $1 is going to be at any particular time, but so I'm committed to seeing it at $1, so I'm going to keep on working towards that. But that's the retirement income that I've set up for my children, a lot more than that. So I'm going to talk to Lewis a little bit about where he sees his super in relation to crypto for himself and retirement, and also for his young kids.
Well, that's a good question asking, Andrew. I mean, for me, retirement feels like a long way away, and passing on to my children, my family, feels like a long way away. But the thing I say to everyone, or what I say to myself, is that it is a journey that we all need to be starting today. Today is the best day to start. And I'm not saying that it has to be in crypto. I'm saying you're saving towards retirement can start today, and you take incremental steps towards building your own nest egg. Ultimately, we want to look after ourselves, have a balance there in retirement, and we want to have a legacy there for our families as well. If we can achieve that, that'd be remarkable. For me, I hope cryptocurrency can be a part of that answer towards my retirement. we all have a different risk profile in terms of what we're prepared to take on, whether it's going to be all crypto or a mixture of crypto with other investments. But I'm happy that cryptocurrency, the way it's heading and the way capital is going into the market, that it seems like it would be a positive trend going into the future. That's why I've gone into cryptocurrency with some of my SMSF assets, and hopefully in time, with a lot of steps taken towards retirement, I'll have that nest egg there and also enough there for my family when eventually I'm not around too.
Wow. Who likes that answer? That is gold. I love that fact that you're not solely focused on crypto. I mean, I'm a crypto goer. I'm a buff. I love the stuff. But that was a really good answer. I really appreciate that. I like that diverse portfolio, and you've got a few more grey hairs to get before your retirement. I'm a bit closer than you. But like that incremental steps to retirement income. That is a really good statement. Thank you very much for sharing that. We got Craig on here, and he's got a little girl as well, and he's got a bit more grey hair than Lewis. How are you feeling about the future of crypto, your retirement, and how that may affect your little girl into the future as well?
Yeah, well, I'm actually really excited that I'm involved in the crypto space, because my massive goal is actually to buy a lot of land, and I want to set up sort of rehabilitation places for endangered animals, and just tie up a lot of land and protect the wildlife out there. So very big on the charity side of how I can make a difference for animals and the environment. The fact that I can bring my daughter up in that environment is priceless to me. So so I'm really excited I'm in this space. The other thing I was going to say is that if I left my money where it was in the self-managed super fund where it was, I'm sure I wouldn't have much at all. So it's pretty exciting. Do I talk about how much it's gone up?
Oh, you can share that if you like. It's nice to say percentages, because it's only been just on 2 months for you.
Yep. So very, very stoked that in just over 2 months, it's gone up a massive 54.83%, which is absolutely amazing. So I urge you all to look into this space.
That's really yummy, isn't it? Considering we haven't even started growing yet. The Bitcoin halving is next week, next Tuesday or Wednesday, and we know that's not going to explode on that day, but usually after that event it starts to really go crazy. Now, it's good to have Steve on. If you follow Steve on Facebook, you see him out there adventuring and picking up snakes and running amok. And he's got a little boy called River, and I'm sure River will be not much different to his dad. A bit of an adventure seeker, so that's going to be expensive to find all these experiences. So where do you see what you've done so far affecting you as you move closer to retirement, and obviously creating a legacy as well?
I think it's important for that generation coming through, as with all generations, but right now with all the shifts and changes happening on the earth, and being in this space, really setting up, not just him, setting up my partner, my family, to be in a space where we're not, I don't think you can ever be comfortable, but really, really grounded and in a space where I can make a difference. I'm all about impact and helping people and all that. And my whole family is really, I know River's here to do big things. He's already doing big things and he's only 18 months old. But I think, like I say, with an income or with finances or however you want to look at it, wealth, it's a huge part of making a difference in the world the way it's structured now, going into the next era, next 25 years, 50 years or anything like that, and really setting that up. That's why it's been a huge part this now, to really have that legacy focus, and have crypto as a huge part. Like I say, the growth is just exceptional up to now. I like how Craig was excited just to share the growth in 2 months. I can't wait to hear him in a couple of years. You might be able to chat him up, but I think that's what it is too. But to really get excited about, like I say, like impacting that next generation coming through. I'm sure a lot of people on here now, like, we probably had the shouldas, coulda, wouldas. or should have done this sooner, or wish this was in this era. And we've got the chance right now, like, to really jump at it and make a huge difference.
That's good. That's a great answer. It is all about creating a difference. And look, I've just recently started saying creating a win-win economy.
Yeah.
You know, what we do in cryptocurrency doesn't take value from other people. You know, we're not taking advantage of timing in a way that someone else is disadvantaged. We're taking advantage of timing because there's a shift of global wealth in the way of money's being used and stored and transferred. So I like that fact. Now, we've had some people with young kids on the panel tonight, me being one of those included. But Lani and Chris, they've just started with their journey with setting up that, quite a large retirement style income. And of course, they've been working for a lot longer than I have, on a farm, so it's pretty hard work. So Lani, how do you feel that you've secured your retirement income now that you're involved with cryptocurrency with your super?
Yeah, I'm feeling very hopeful. I mean, we have been farmers for a long time. We spend at least $20,000 each year putting in one paddock, hoping to regain 4 or 5 times that. Sometimes you make it, sometimes you don't. And I think the returns on Dacxi and Bitcoin is going to be really good, and I may be able to retire.
Yeah, don't you? I love. I mean, I'm not ex-farmer. I grew up on a farm, so I never was a farmer. I moved off before I actually started working on farms. But you know, farmers when they look at the cost per return, and I mean, great that you said that you put in 20K and you hope to return 5 times that over a crop. You know, and that's what farmers should be considering. I mean, I've had a new guy that just started his journey with crypto, and he's a farmer. His fertilizer bill per crop is $60,000. You know, that's just his fertilizer, not his water bill, not his electricity, not his machinery, his diesel, his insurance. Just his fertilizer bill is $60K per crop, and he grows a couple of crops a year. Now, if he done what Lani does, 60 by 5 is 300 grand. So that application of fertilizer should return him 300K. Now,
Yeah.
yeah, and you don't win every year, do you, Lani?
No, sometimes you get there and sometimes you don't. But we decided, well, we'll take a chance with Dacxi and Bitcoin, and we've it's been growing really well. I'm very excited for the future. So I don't want to work on the farm all the time.
That's right. Well, it's also the risk factor. That's why I never became a farmer. I didn't want to risk working. You know, most farmers, they might win 1 in 5 or 1 in 7 years. They actually get that 5-to-1 return. You know, and I always look at, I used to, when I first started talking crypto to people, it was all about, farmers do what we do in crypto right now. Every year, every crop is exactly the same. They spend a bit of money, 20K, 100K, 300K, $1 million on a crop. And they put the crop there and they wait a period of time. And hopefully the markets are right, the weather's right, the people are right, everything works out, and they 5 times their money. Every year they do this, and I'm a very grateful farm praiser. I just love what farmers do. It's not for me. I'm not that much of a risk taker, but when you put $100,000 into a paddock and you expect to get $500,000 every few years, I think that's a big risk. I think farmers, I love farmers. I grew up as a farmer, and I think they're phenomenal how the resilience and their belief in their own ability is phenomenal. But I have that belief with cryptocurrency. I have the same belief in technology.
Yeah, we do too. We tried a couple of other cryptocurrencies, promises of great gains, but it was very easy to, not very easy to follow. Whereas when I was introduced to Dacxi, I could see how simple it was. So yeah, we're very happy with the Dacxi Exchange.
That's great. So what I might do is I'll finish off a bit of a presentation I'll have just to tidy that up. Then we'll have a bit of a Q&A at the end. So I'll just pop back to a quick share screen. Well, look, the buying process, like I said very early on, is very easy. Now, if you do want to actually get involved with cryptocurrency, if you do have a self-managed super fund already, or you're wanting to set one up, make sure you talk to a professional about getting a self-managed super fund set up. If you do already have one, you'll be introduced to Dacxi either by this video or other videos. When you go through the link, the order form provided by your referrer, you would select a super fund. So type of account is individual, corporate, super fund. So select super fund. Once you've selected that, you fill out the details below, so like it's an order form. You'll get the bank account details from Dacxi. You open up your exchange account in the name of your self-managed super fund. Dacxi will send you an email with all the details that they require to actually make sure that your account is opened up in the name of the self-managed super fund, and Lewis is involved with that process for some people as well. So that documentation is very important because it is its own identity. It's its own person. You are creating a new person in the name of a self-managed super fund. It's not your account, it's someone else's account. You will get benefit from that when you get into retirement. So it's really important to understand that process. Once you've done that, you actually go in and create an account. Your super fund has got its own email address. It's separate to your individual personal account. So corporate super fund, to click on the super fund or a trust, put in that individual email address, 12-digit password, one capital, one numeral, one number, and then you have got your own super account. So send your money through to Dacxi and they will allocate the coins into your account. So what I might do is quickly just do a bit of a Q&A. Has anyone got any questions for the panel or myself in relation to buying cryptocurrency and putting it into your superannuation?
I've got one. What percentage of your superannuation can you put into crypto? 10%, 20%, 50%?
If you do have a self-managed super fund, when you initially set it up, you'll have to have a investment strategy in there. It's part of your trust deeds. I'd love Lewis to answer that, but I beat him to it. Sorry, Lewis. So as long as part of your investment strategy includes whatever you want to invest into, so it could be, you don't have to put a percentage there. You're going to invest in property, shares, equities, cryptocurrency, precious metals. As long as it's in there, you can invest, 1% or 100%. It's entirely up to you because you are the manager of your self-managed super fund.
Yeah, I might just add to that, Andrew, as well, if you don't mind. I think.
Perfect.
So thanks, Greg, for the question. It's a common question actually in terms of what am I allowed to do with your SMSF. So there are rules and restrictions around certain types of assets in terms of what your SMSF can purchase, who it purchases from more particularly. But in terms of your investment profile, the regulator, that is the ATO, they don't put any restrictions or percentages to say you must have or you must not have a certain amount of assets in any particular asset type. That's the part where it's up to you to decide what's right for your profile, what's right for the members in your SMSF, because at the end of the day, if you have members there that need cash, for example, it's not up to them to tell you how much cash to have in your SMSF bank account. If you have members who have, long-term growth portfolio for the next 30 years, it's not up to them to tell you must have some amount of cash or how much you should have in shares or crypto. It really is self-driven, but the most important thing, as Andrew has mentioned, is that your SMSF must have an investment strategy, one that details why you've chosen the categories of assets you've gone into, what suits your members, and it must be a documented one, not just one that's in your own mind or in your own thoughts. It needs to be a documented one in the name of SMSF. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Thanks, Andrew.
Great answer. Good answer, Lewis. Thank you very much for that input. Has anyone else got any questions? I'm happy to answer them, or the panel can.
Yeah, I've got one. For individual self-managed super fund, what's the minimum requirement before you can set one up?
That's a good question.
That's a good. I'll let Lewis do that one then.
I mean, at the moment, so AUSTRAC would have guidance out there suggesting minimum values in terms of what they think is a good number. And that's typically where a financial advisor is involved to advise you whether it's a right structure for you to be involved in, that a self-managed super fund that is. But really, it does come down to you having an understanding in terms of what sorts of fees you're going to incur and what sort of time you're going to take to manage your own self-managed super fund. So the very important part there to consider is that your current superannuation account, whether you know it or not, you do get charged fees for having it managed on your behalf. And that can range anywhere from very small fractions of, say, 0.1% up to 1.5% of your total member balance. So if you're considering a super fund that for your self-managed super fund of, say, $500,000, annual accounting or annual administration or annual advice fees, if you engage an advisor, of $5,000, for example, is a 1% or a smaller fraction than what you were already paying anyway in your own superannuation account. So there's no actual value that's right, but you did need to consider what time it's going to take for you to manage it properly, what fees you are going to take on board by having your own self-managed super fund. And then at the end of the day, it is a choice that you make on your own if you do it without the advice of a financial advisor. The only reason that you would not be able to do so is if there's a regulatory reason why you cannot have an SMSF. And I can also help with that if you have any questions around that one. But in a rather long-winded, roundabout way of answering the question, the minimum value is really one that is a sensible one in terms of, is it sensible to have a self-managed super fund, for example, with only $5,000 in it? No. I would say quite plainly, no, because the fees you would have to pay just to have it set up, just to have it run every year, it's not sensible. It would eat into your balance. Yeah. But what will be a sensible value is up to you and what you're comfortable to take on. And when you've informed and educated as to what you expect to be incurring fees annually, and also the time taken to make sure you're doing a good and proper job of having your own self-managed super fund.
Well done, good answer. Now, just to add on to that, I was talking with a lady today. She was advised that $300,000 wasn't enough to set up a self-managed super fund, 300K. She was told that it's not a good idea to buy precious metals for your self-managed super fund because it costs you $140 to transport the metal to your house, which we won't go into how crazy that is anyway. So that was the reason why it was not a good idea to buy precious metals. The logic behind that was beyond me. And she was also told that specifically it's not a good idea to buy cryptocurrency because the guy that was giving her advice only buys shares. And he knew that if she bought anything other than shares through him, it would negatively affect his bottom line. Because every time she rings him, she pays for a service. And every time he makes a trade, he takes a cut.
I think also, Andrew, if you don't mind me adding to that as well, in terms of minimum values, something I wanted to cover off on was that it's important to understand that self-managed super fund can have anywhere up to 4 members in your SMSF. Now, I would say it's a good consideration to be involved with other people who have a similar risk profile to you. But a common scenario is a husband and wife or family of up to 4 people in the SMSF. Now, you each individually can have the choice to roll your own super accounts into an SMSF. So you may individually have 150,000, but then 2 other members may have 150,000 as well. So all of a sudden you have a self-managed super fund with $450,000, which makes it almost a more reasonable consideration to have your own SMSF. But again, it does come down to your willingness and nous to have your own SMSF. And yes, opinions, everyone's got one. You need to make sure that we're getting information from a wider net. I would consider professionals who are in the space a good source of information. The ATO is a good source of information as well. They have a wonderful guide on that. There's also education courses, believe it or not, in terms of what it takes to run an SMSF. So you need to consider who you're getting information from and take that on board. Take with a grain of salt as to, well, some people say it's a pro, some people say it's a no-go. But we all have our filters as to why we provided these opinions in the first place.
Very good. Guys, look, we just punched onto the hour, so I'm going to wrap up the webinar tonight because I'd already like to do this.
Could I just ask one question, Andrew, before we go?
Right, off you go.
I'm just curious about the reporting requirements for self-managed super funds.
That's the reporting requirements are like any other investment strategy that you put in place. You have to tell the government what you hold, what they're worth and what trades and what profit that you've had every year. And Dacxi does provide that report at the end of the financial year at your request. And it's treated like any other share or property investment portfolio. The capital gains tax is also applicable. Of course, using your superannuation for that purposes certainly has a big tax advantage. For people like myself and people who are younger, you've got to be a bit more patient for that to be realised in something that can affect your life. But for people that are in that retirement area, then the tax advantages are certainly very beneficial, and I recommend you reach out to a professional and just clarify all the finer details that relate to you specifically.
Right. So it's a once a year report, is it?
Once a year report, that's all it is. And whatever investment strategies that you have, you'll have to provide a report for each particular area. So if you've got stuff with the Dacxi Exchange, you'll get a report from them. If you've got property or precious metals or shares, you'll need a report from the platforms that manage those particular areas as well.
Right. And one other question, if I can ask our professional, is it worthwhile a 74-year-old even considering a self-managed super fund with Dacxi? That's Lewis's question.
Yeah. Thanks, Grant. Thanks, Grant. To be honest, in my experience, what I've seen, 74-year-olds, I haven't seen too many people in the age category above 70 setting up a self-managed super fund. The new SMSFs tend to be more between the 30s to 40s age category. The current rules don't disallow you from setting up a self-managed super fund at your age, but you need to understand that you're limited to how much super money you can add into your super because of your age. You're restricted to how much more you contribute. So what you'd be playing with, I suppose, is your current super balance sitting with your industry or retail fund as your source of information, your source of value to go into your self-managed super fund. If that
right.
helps.
And what is that limit? And what is that limit?
Sorry, the limit for the contributions, Grant?
Yes.
Oh, so at the moment there's an annual limit. Now I have to always have to put my thinking caps on to make sure I've got the right without moving targets, of course.
I hear about 100,000. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So it does depend on the timing of your contribution and the age you are at the time you make those contributions. 100,000 per year is a after-tax personal contribution is allowable, but of course, make sure you look into your current circumstances and get advice around that if you're not too sure what the right amount is to put in. But the general statutory limits are 100,000 per year, or potentially 300,000 per year in one bite at one go. But then you're maxed out for the next following 2 financial years. You can't put in more as well. And then we also have to consider whether your current member balance is over 1.6 million. If your current balance is over 1.6 million, you can't put in any money at all either as an additional contribution. So lots to take on board. It's hard to answer that question without looking to your circumstances in more detail.
That's useful. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Well done. Thank you very much for your answers and the questions, guys. Look, I'll turn off the recording now. So if you are watching this as a recording, I'd encourage you to encourage you to get into a lot more learning about what we're doing, understand more about the cryptocurrency industry, develop some confidence for yourself personally, and then reach out to some industry professionals that know a lot about self-managed super funds and also know a lot about cryptocurrency in the same breath, not someone that has an opinion about both. Make sure you talk to a professional and get them set up properly. Do not do what I did. Please don't go to an online company. Go see a professional. Talk to someone, even if you've got to have a coffee with them, and pay the money to get it set up. It reduces the amount of grey hair that you have, and you too can enjoy the benefits of having a self-managed super fund to set up easily. The way that you buy your cryptocurrency done through the Dacxi Exchange is also easy, and we want to have a very blessed and wonderful retirement type income. And my choice and a lot of people's choice on the panel tonight have been to use their money in a self-managed super fund to purchase crypto. So all the best, take care. I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Thank you very much. Goodbye.